Welcome! If you are watching this video right now, you are probably interested in a Zenless Zone Zero beginner's guide about something that is a little bit more updated in the current version 1.4. I do have the Zenless Zone Zero beginner's guide from way back upon the game's release, right? 1.0. We made like a ton of content, so if you guys want any of the old stuff, I feel like 80 to 70% of it is still pretty relevant, right? So I'm referring to specifically this one right here. This is our brand new beginner's guide. I made a shit ton of content for Zenless Zone Zero way back in the day, alright? Your stream, by the way. Your stream. I made a whole ass A rank agent guide, S rank agent guide, beginner's guide, all that. So this was from my very first Zenless Zone Zero beginner's guide. Based on CB3 info on launch, right? Very good, very nice. Your streamer, very good, very nice. I would say that around 80-ish% of this content is still pretty relevant. Not too much has changed, but there's definitely couple of improvements, quality of life, etc. So today we will be going through our beginner's guide in Zenless Zone Zero for version 1.4, right? So bada boom, bada bing, bada bang, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and let's just get into it right the hell now, right? So who the hell is this beginner's guide for? It's gonna be for any new or returning players to Zenless Zone Zero as of version 1.4, especially if you're struggling with who do you want to build. Should you be putting for Miyabi? Yes. Where should you be spending your stamina? Which of these shop values are good, right? How do you exactly play the game? Where to farm, etc. So all that kind of stuff, the general questions that you will be thinking of in a brand new gacha game. Assuming that this is your first ever gacha game that is in the Zone Zero, right? So it will include pretty much everything that you can think of. I hope, I wish, but definitely there will be some missing points here and there. If any of my villagers, any of my viewers from Twitch, YouTube, you guys have anything more to add, feel free to leave them down in the comments below, because I tried cooking this for the past like 3 to 4 days. It's a lot, and it's Christmas. I don't want to overwork. I've already been overworking, so if I missed out anything, feel free to just, drop them down below, right? And why do you guys want to watch this video? Because at the end of the day, if you don't want to optimize your stuff, it is completely fine. It's like basically the way I'm playing Girls Frontline 2, right? For Girls Frontline 2, I basically just play the game to look at things. Right, I don't really care about meta. I don't really care about efficiency. I let my stamina overflow like all the time. It is a very casual game for me. So if you're playing Zenless Zone Zero for like you are good to go and do whatever you want to do, right? So this is mainly for players who are specifically, you do want to make the best bang out of your playing experience with regards to the stamina you're getting, who should you pull for, where to farm, etc. So without further ado, let's continue on with the actual guide itself, right? What is Zenless Zone Zero? Third-person ARPG gacha game, massive dick high emphasis on combat, not so much on the exploration. So Zenless Zone Zero, there are maps, there are different areas they can kind of go to, but most of them is not really meant for you to like explore, farm, pick up materials that you would expect from like Wuthering Waves or Genshin Impact, right? For the most part, a lot of these places they're just for you to, walk around and see the sights. There's this specific Officer Mew Mew, which is going to be some additional... You can do some quests, and whenever you do the Officer Mew Mew quests, you actually complete like these stamps to get a little bit more of the benefits, right? So this is pretty much one of the main reasons why you will explore, quote unquote explore. But I would say that 80% of the game's mechanics, it doesn't really revolve around the locations, right? The locations, they are really just, to add a little bit of lore, a little bit of world building, but a lot of the combat, the story, the end game, all of them are in like basically from a singular point. For the story, you're pretty much gonna be camping here, all right? The Hollow Deep Dive system. So this is basically where you would do all of the story, right? From chapter 1 all the way through chapter 5, every single story would be under this HDD system. Story, explore, combat. For story modes, there are easy modes and there are hard modes. Generally, the hard modes, they're just there for you to get a little bit more polychromes. But the easy mode is where you will be going through the progress at the start. To my knowledge, I believe they removed every single stamina cost from the story, because in CBT there used to be stamina cost tied to your story progression, but I believe they removed everything. So if you're a new player nowadays, just play through the whole thing, and the only restriction for your progression would be your level caps. I believe internet level is the only thing that will basically stop you You can in fact progress through this. There is still a internet lock, but my chat says that it has been lowered, so there's a little bit of a benefit for the new players, right? This will be basically what you will be doing for almost everything, right? You will go in, select a team of 3, and you'll fight. And that will be 99% of how this entire game will play. 3 units of combat needs 3 teams for the latest endgame. This is specifically referring to Deadly Assault, where you have to run 3 separate teams, unlike Genshin Impact or Hongi Starbucks, especially if you're somebody that did play other MiHoYo games but didn't play Zenless Zone Zero. You're trying to think of it for the first time, right? So you would need basically 9 units by the very, very, very last endgame. There are other things like Holo Zero, Battle Tower, all that kind of stuff, but those things are one-time clears. So the only refreshable endgame content that needs 3 teams, that's gonna be your Deadly Assault. But for a new player starting today, I think it's gonna take you guys quite a while to build up 3 teams, because raising 3 different units with a brand new account, it's not gonna be that comfortable. I think Zenless Zone Zero generally, from at least from what I've been experiencing, is you do take a little bit more time to raise units from 0 to 60 with maxed out core skills. You shouldn't even be thinking of maxing out your traces or like your talents, right? Because it costs a lot. So I'll get it on a little bit, but that's basically that. Comparable to PGR, Honkai Impact 3, and it does in fact have one of, if not the most endgame content in a HoYoverse game. I think Honki Starbucks is pretty much the other exception, where they have 3 refreshable endgame rotations: Epoch, Shadows, Pure Fusion, and Memory of Chaos. But for Zenless Zone Zero, I think they are the first so far that actually push you guys to have different modes of clearing your endgame. Okay, basically, yeah, one of the most endgame mode, 3 team, Hail Dawei, Hail Zenless Zone Zero, right? Best storytelling execution, subjectively speaking. For me, I think Zenless Zone Zero has, out of the 3 major HoYoverse games that I've been playing, it has the best storytelling. And it's by not even by like a small amount. It's huge. It is Deikai levels of execution. Their models, their expressions, the dialogue, the little comic book panels, the amount of cutscenes they have, the dynamic, everything. It is so well executed. And apparently there's also a lot of lore in Zenless Zone Zero. I just watched a Zenless Zone Zero lore video. Me personally, I'm not that deep into the lore, but the story itself and the story execution, very good. And the final reason, or rather what determines Zenless Zone Zero as a Zenless Zone Zero, yeah, so this game does in fact have a lot of bounce. And honestly, I'm gonna keep it, but it is one of the main reasons why I like this. Okay, one of the reasons why this game is so appealing to me as a gamer, right? Okay, and why is this the best time to start Zenless Zone Zero? We do have access to the free limited S-rank agent Harumasa, on top of getting all of the supplies needed to level him up to level 40. You just need to log in and claim it. That is pretty much it. So everyone and their moms would have access to Harumasa, right, which is this guy right here. He is essentially a DPS, a very decent electric DPS that kind of plays like Zhu Yuan, which is like, you know, burst skills, rotating with your days units, swapping between. It's honestly very fun. And for a brand new player that just started, he's gonna be leagues better than Corinne, for example, right? No offense to Corinne, but like, you know, it is what it is, right? So it is a very good quality of life, especially for players that just start the game. I believe he's an excellent starting S-rank agent. There are a lot of guides available. There are a lot of team comms where we can see that Harumasa has been performing pretty substantially for all of our endgame modes. Me personally, I didn't really race him because I already have a lot of DPS units, but feel free to go ahead and find out some Harumasa guides. You will not be disappointed with him, right? I also have one for my creator early access review, so you can check it out if you want to yourself. Another reason, which might be the bigger reason, if you were to press F4, we are currently having the strongest DPS banner in the entire game for the past 5 months. Miyabi is the strongest DPS in Zenless Zone Zero. She's so strong, in fact, that she basically knocked every other DPS to half a tier to 1 tier below her standing in a tier list. So starting out as a new player, not only do you get Harumasa, you will also get a massive influx of polychromes, which are going to be your pools, essentially, right? To enable you to quite easily get Miyabi as you play all the stories and get all of your new player rewards, right? I believe that unless you are just like the unluckiest person in the entire world, new players probably have enough polychromes to basically not only get her, but also her signature weapon. And if you do get this, you are basically set for a long time. Your team 1 will be set for a very long time. She is the strongest DPS bar none. I don't mean the glazer. Not paid, right? This is not paid, right? I'm not sponsored by Holyverse for this video, but she is, in fact, objectively speaking, demonstrably speaking, the strongest DPS you have, right? So if you want to have a very easy time clearing through the start of the game, especially in the early game, or if you got your hands on the daily assault, eventually shield defense, critical node, hollow zero, daily farming, even if you want to clear your stamina, Miyabi will make you have a much easier time as you progress through the game, right? So that's the second reason. Aside from that, a lot of quality of life. There's a lot less TV, a lot more skips, UI optimizations. We have double refrost. Coffee shop gives you like additional drops now. So but basically a lot of UI, quality of life UI improvement as compared to version 1.0. I don't really know specifically which ones they list because they just made so many death recent moments. If you guys know, feel free to leave them down in the comments below, right, about the specific improvements over the course of 1.0. And finally, this game also does have a lot of endgame content that basically forces you, or rather encourages you, to go ahead and play with different units and play with different teams, especially since you only need 3 units for one team. Raising up 9 units is not that big of a jump compared to raising 8 units in Hongi, Starbucks, and Genshin Impact. For 2 teams of 4, this is basically 3 teams of 3. And if anything, if you would ask me, having 3 teams of 3, especially for like endgame mode, it does encourage you to play a little bit more differently and experiment with more units that you might find to your liking. Even if it's not for daily assault, even for like the battle tower, because if that unit quote-unquote dies, you can't use them anymore, right? So the more units you have, the more room, the more option you have to just enjoy and play the game as you see fit. Okay, so this is why it is the best time to start, and I kind of want to just run through the basic terminologies real quick. First things first, stamina refresh in Zenless Zone Zero. I believe there has been no change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total. 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, 200 polychromes. I don't think there's any change compared to 1.0. For a total, if you are a brand new player that wants to whale, it would cost you 700 polychromes for a max refresh of 6 times a day, right? So that's for whalers if you want to refresh. Me personally, I am doing, I don't know if it's 2 or 3 refreshes when I first started the game, because, as a content creator, I want to play and build as many users as possible. Nowadays, I'm quite chill. I'm very chill. Unless I really want to farm for like a brand new unit or I farm brand new relics, I don't really refresh anymore because they are more or less done. But as you just started playing the game, I think that spending a little bit on your refresh to just make your account progress faster, get to higher levels far more efficiently, you might want to consider. So that will be up to you if you want to do it. Free to place, probably want to stay away, right? But for low spenders or like whales, go for it. Basic terminologies: if you play Genshin or Hongi Starbucks or HSR, right? These are the terminologies you would need to kind of, get familiar with the game, right? Your battery is your energy, your denny is your credit, polychromes, LRJs, blah, 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 blah. So just go ahead and screenshot and you can kind of refer this to your own, right? Shout out to u/ban_but_bup from the Zenless Zone Zero Reddit community way back in version 1.0. There's no change, so I didn't really change anything over here. All right. Okay, cool. Gacha system. Bada boom, bada boom, bada bang. What the hell is a gacha system? I don't think there has been any change to the gacha system as well. Almost exactly the same as Genshin Impact, Hongi Starbucks. 50-50. 75 is a soft pity, 90 is a hard pity. By 75 pool onwards, your S rank rate goes up tremendously. So most of the time, you should be getting a S rank around the 80th-ish pools. Very rarely would you hit 90 pools to hit the 50-50, right? If you lose, your next unit is guaranteed to be the rate up unit, whether it be your limited agent or your limited W engine, right? All of the PDs across every single banner, they are able to be carried forward and they are basically interchangeable. So for example, we have two banners right now, Harumasa and Miyabi. If you spend 30 pools here, 30 pools here, that means you have spent 60 pools, and if you didn't get anybody, it does carry forward to the next banner, so don't worry about that. Same thing for W engine, and in fact, this is our first time in Zenless Zone Zero that we get a double rate up banner. Before this, it was always one unit at a time, right? So that is going to be that. Generally speaking, you would be spending most of your polychromes on the limited banner. Do not spend your polychromes on this banner. This is the standard banner, especially if you are free to play, because you get these free master tapes from playing through the story, from your login events, from your achievements. You get a lot of these, and even from like raising up your units from level 20, 40, and 60, you get a lot of these. So do not, for the love of God, spend your polychromes here, because it is the exact same cost, 160 for one standard pool and 160 for one limited pool, right? So do not ever spend that over here, right? Please, or I will kill you in game, right? Before this banner, which is not going to be shown here, it's going to be your beginner banner, right? Your beginner banner, it works out to be the same as Honky Starbucks. 50 pools, you are guaranteed one random S rank agent, right? So you are guaranteed one random S rank agent over here. Completely random, you have no choice. You can get a early S rank, but the good thing about Zenless Zone Zero's beginner 50 pools is that it carries forward into your standard banner. Meaning, if you spend 50 pools in the beginner banner, you'll start off here with 50 out of 300 to get this selector. This is the standard banner selector, where after 300 pools, you can in fact choose a character to redeem, and then you can get it, right? I'll talk about which one you should choose later first, but generally speaking, just spend your master tapes inside the game at the beginner banner and see what you get. You don't have to re-roll in Zenless Zone Zero, just because pretty much everyone here is like, it's not too bad, right? I mean, people will make fun of you. Oh my god, you got Nico Mata, you got like Soldier 11, right? They'll make fun of you, but your grace. But like, they're all like more or less usable, right? They're not like dog shit or like completely unplayable. It'll be good if you get like Rina, right? Rina or any of the stun units, especially if you start right now. But any of these air strengths are completely viable, usable, and basically exactly the same as your Genshin Impact and Honky Starbucks. Do note that for Zenless Zone Zero, your rate up, or rather the S rank rate for an engine, is actually slightly higher than the other two games, because it's actually at 1%. So that is quite nice. Aside from that, it is basically completely the same, but there is one additional banner that is different from everything else. The best banner in the entire world, the Bangbu banner. This banner, the pools you get from this, it is completely free to play. You can't whale for this, you can't spend any money for this. This will only come to you through doing events, so everybody will have the exact same number of Bangbus throughout the course of you playing the game, right? No difference between a free to play and whale. And you can select a Bangbu that you want, and it will be at a 100% rate. So if you want the FBI Boo, if you want the Sniffer Boo, if you want the Pig Boo, you just select them, and it will be guaranteed. Your next S rank Bamboo will be guaranteed to be that Bamboo. No losing, no nothing, 100%. You can get an early Bamboo, right? So there is a guarantee, but you can get an early Bamboo. So this is pretty much the I guess you could say the best banner, because there's no discrimination here. You can't whale for Bamboos. Everybody have the same Bamboos. I don't think they change everything. They are basically just there like to be a cute little mascot in your game, right? And a lot of these Bamboos, some of them might be insane, but even if you don't have the S rank Bamboo, it's not the end of the world. In fact, some of the A rank Bamboos also have a exceptional quality, right? So for example, if you come here right here, oh my lord, okay, if you come right here, there are some A rank Bamboos that are like really useful. So for example, the Avakabu. This is one of the only Bamboos in the entire game that can actually heal your unit, because in Zenless Zone Zero, there are no healers. So any HP damage you are taking to your team, it is permanent. There are no heals. Avakabu as well as Explorer Boo, I believe they are the only two ways that you can get health regeneration, to my knowledge, unless they release healers next time, which is leakers, but I don't know. But for now, these two are the only ways you can sustain, which is why some of the A rank, they are great, right? So for example, all of this Penguin Boo. It is like quote-unquote the weaker version of Shark Boo, but I had no issues running Penguin Boo in my entire life. I didn't even pull for Shark Boo, and I still ran this with Airwear. No problem whatsoever. So it's really just there, a very cute little mascot for you to just enjoy and just have fun, right? And they also have some events. So if you have the Night Boo event, it also comes with some bump boots that you can get, as well as the, Baddie Boo and all that. So that is basically the bump boot system. Yeah, never ever use monochromes, right? 300 pulls to get a selector is $600 US. So don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Never spend any of these, especially this rainbow thing here for the standard banner, right? You can get them over time. You don't have to rush it, right? Banner advice. Like I mentioned, Miyabi is the current strongest DPS. At least one, if not two tiers above every other DPS. So I do believe that if you start Zenless Zone Zero right now, while we do know that the next banner in version 1.5 is going to be Ashra Yao and Evelyn. Ashra Yao is a support, Evelyn is a 5 DPS. Miyabi right now is so strong above everyone else. You should try to get her because you need at least 2 teams, if not 3 teams anyways. And by her strength, she far outweighs every other DPS we've got. So for example, if there's someone that started in 1.0 and you put for Ellen Jo, it will literally have 0 difference if you put or didn't put Ellen Jo nowadays, because everybody just runs Miyabi as IZPS now. So it is completely fine to not worry about it too much, but getting Miyabi would bring extraordinary benefits for your Zenless Zone Zero progression. Even better if you manage to get her W engine, because Mibaba's W engine, it is the only anomaly W engine that gives you crit value. 24% crit rate, 50 crit damage, and you can in fact get additional 20% ice damage stacking up to 2 times, right? So this is a very good W engine for players who are getting Miyabi, because every other anomaly engine, they are like pen ratio, attack, Jane Doe, Dinosaur, it doesn't really compare that well, even the Battle Pass one. So it's a excellent W engine, and I would recommend players getting the M0S1. Right, Harumasa, since you guys already got it for free, it will be a pretty good choice to raise him as well. We are not quite sure if it's gonna be, getting a power crab or whatever, but in the early game, between Miyabi and Harumasa, if you guys do manage to pull for Miyabi, I would absolutely recommend raising up Miyabi first, and then Harumasa can be your project in the second team. If you're not rushing for the second team, especially for the shield defense critical node where you need 2 different teams, you can just kind of chill and see what 1.5 has to offer. Because 1.5 is going to be Ashra, Yao, and Evelyn, right? So maybe those units will change everything. And I don't think it's possible for a new player free to play to get to the end game content in like 1 month. I think it's very hard. So honestly, there's no rush to build 2 different teams, right? Get Miyabi, get E0S1, raise her first, Miyabi plus 2 other units, and you can slowly see where things go from there. Okay, cool. Very good, very nice. For the standard banner, so this might not be that applicable to you, especially for the free to plays that are not spending like $1 billion for like the 300 pool selector, right? But this kind of affects what standard S rank agent you get from the beginner banner. Personally, this is a subjective opinion. This is not fair. So personally speaking, Rina would have the highest value, because right now, as of this current stage, the strongest Miyabi team is with Miyabi, Rina plus Yanagi. Now, Yanagi is not in the banner anymore, so it is what it is, 1 bomb. But Rina plays very flexibly. And compared to our other supports, which are namely going to be your Sokaku, your Lucy, and your Nicole, Rina can essentially do their job. Some worse, some better, and it is very flexible, right? So absolutely the highest value, especially if you get her M1, which will make her feel a lot more comfortable to play. So a little bit of a summary for Rina. I'm not gonna make it like a Rina guy or whatever, but basically her buffs will last as long as her little bump boosts fly out. And then when she comes back, the buff is gone. If you unlock this M1, the duration goes up by, I think, 50 or 60%. It's an additional 5.5 seconds. So it is a lot of value if you get an M1, right? So I'm not saying this is only for a selector, but it kind of depends on what S rank agents you get for that random S rank in the first 50 beginner, right? So Rina, absolute value. Good to have though, is gonna be Colada and Lycon. Now, people might say I'm coping, like, oh my god, Colada, don't down on me. But honestly, she's a very good stunner. She stuns extremely quickly, because for a new player nowadays, You have no Caesar King, you have no Qingyi, you have no Lighter. The only stunner a new player will have from now, even till the end of 1.5, not 1.5, which is after Evelyn and HIL, is NB. You have no other stun units until you get to, I don't know what they're going to release in 1.6, right? So it will be a very, very long time again until you get a brand new stunner. So if you get either Coleda or Lycon, they can both be used effectively across pretty much any crit teams you have, right? You have no Bernice, you have no Jane Doe, so you basically only have Harumasa as your second team. And Harumasa is a unit that relies on a stunner. You want to stun the enemy as fast as possible as Harumasa, and your Harumasa will deal tremendous burst damage during that stun window. So running a stunner with Harumasa is gonna pretty much be your best in slot for your team too, right? So both Coleda and Lycon, they are very, very good if you get them, especially for the beginner banners, right? For Coleda and Lycon, which one do they prefer? It really depends on you. Me personally, I don't really like the way Lycon plays. I feel it's a little bit clunky. It might just be skill issue. I really like how Coleda plays because it's very snappy, right? The moment you pass the EX skill, but when you bang, I just swap out so very fast. So it kind of depends on you. And I will talk about this a little bit later, which is basically the feeling you get from playing a unit. It will heavily affect your enjoyment in the game. But I'll talk about it a little bit later, right? So that's that. Everyone else, which is basically going to be Grace, Nico Mata, and Soldier 11. Okay, I'm not saying that they're dog shit, but good for collection purpose, right? Good for waifu, good for collection purpose, right? All units can be used to clear endgame. So frankly speaking, whoever you get, you can just raise them up. It's going to be great, right? So that is going to be the best advice. And now, moving on to the next segment, which is going to be the notable A rank agents. Namely, your triple supports, your stunner, and your Seth. So to kind of bring back this a little bit, and we can take a closer look over here. First things first. If you guys came from Genshin Impact, Lucy is basically, in my opinion, the Burnett of Zenless Zone Zero. She can slot into Anomaly, she can slot into crit DPS. Any team you want to run her in, she is going to be able to perform her tasks, right? So what she does is essentially, she'll provide this damage buff, this attack buff, on top of summoning her little piggies, her little pigs, which will help you contribute towards the damage you're dealing to the target. It's kind of like a additional helpers, right? So when you see her in battle, she'll summon these little pigs that will attack the enemy, building up the fire anomaly gauge on top of dealing damage over time. She also has excellent mindscapes. So her mindscape 4, I believe, it gives you an additional 10% crit damage to the entire team. Her mindscape 6, you don't have to read all that, but essentially extends your duration and gets a much higher, right? TLDR, Lucy is a unit, an A rank agent that is consistent, is reliable, and if you do manage to get her, you can just raid her. Alright. Right now, Miyabi can in fact be run with Lucy very, very comfortably, right? Especially since if you are playing Miyabi and you don't have access to Yanagi, you don't have access to Rina, you don't have access to Lighter, you don't have Lucy can definitely go in there and just fill the slot. And then for a slot 3, frankly speaking, you run Sokaku, you run Nico, whatever, they are all viable, right? They are all perfectly viable. Miyabi just that strong. So if you do have Lucy, absolutely 100% a must race. Excellent DPS, excellent attack, fire anomaly. If you have future fire DPS, right, you know everything is coming out, it's gonna be a fire DPS. Maybe you wanna run Lucy, who knows? So that is gonna be that excellent A rank. Another A rank agent that you want. This unit has gone through a pretty considerable amount of controversy ever since Zenless Zone Zero was announced, and that is she is the mascot for the nerfs that Zenless Zone Zero has gotten, right? Because originally, if you guys played Nicole all the way back from CBT 1-2, her thingamabobs, her balloons, it was like huge. It was actually like a little bit crazy, and they actually nerfed it. So a lot of players were super unhappy with Zenless Zone Zero, right? So Nicole is kind of like the face of almost the face of Zenless Zone Zero, right? If you think about Zenless Zone Zero, you probably think of Nicole. She also happens to be an excellent unit because she is currently the only unit we have in the entire game that applies a 40% defense down. No other unit as rank A rank has a 40% defense down tied to AK, and this is coming from a completely free A rank agent. Everybody will get a copy of Nicole, so it is a very good user. And the best part is you don't even need to raise her shit. Right? You can basically get this from raising the core skill, and it's about 40% defense down. extremely strong amplifier. You can run this with Miyabi. If you have Harumasa, right, they are all usable with this very universal defense. Now, her mindscapes are also very nice. So she is also currently, if I'm not mistaken, the only unit that provides us with a team-wide crit rate buff at M6. So if you eventually get Nicole's mindscapes, this M6 is also going to be very nice at a 15% crit rate buff, right? So they're very good. Excellent unit to raise, very cheap to raise as well. Just like Lucy, they are both very cheap to raise, which is one reason why you should be looking out for them as a new player, right? Next unit, Sokaku. Heads up, I'm slightly bit biased against Sokaku, but I do believe that she is a pretty decent unit to raise as well. The reason being, currently, Sokaku boasts one of, if not the highest buff in our entire game, which is a whopping 1000 attack buff. Now, in Zenless Zone Zero, to kind of summarize a little bit, you can check out my old videos from my Zenless Zone Zero calculations, damage, specs, all that kind of stuff. Attack buffs in Zenless Zone Zero, they are inherently a lot more valuable than Honki Starbucks as well as Genshin Impact, because it basically takes your in-combat attack. So it actually amplifies and has a lot more value compared to the rest of Honki and Genshin, which are based off of your base attack. So having this whopping a billion 1000 attack buff is a very big amplifier. In fact, I do believe that she has one of the highest damage amps for a support in the entire game. But my concern with this is, or rather not my concern, my problem to me personally with Sokaku is that she has this nickname in the Zenless Zone Zero community called a Slow Kaku, because her kit, when you want to apply the buff, it is a lot clunkier compared to our other supports. So for example, for Lucy and Nicole, all you have to do is just press the EX skill. You let go of the buff, done. You're moving on. For Sokaku, you can only pass on, or rather get this buff, upon 3 stacks of Vertex, which is going to be the top left-hand corner. There's going to be a little bubble. Alright, so for your 3 different A rank supports, alright, for Lucy, you can see when this button is like purplish, like blue, whatever, press this, and that's your buff. That's it. So the buff has been applied, as you can see from this top left-hand corner. This is the buff applied by Lucy, right? And then for Nicole, it's also very easy, right? Just press E, and then you're done, right? So the boss will have a defense down applied for the next 5 seconds, blah, blah. For Sokaku, you actually need to press E 3 times, or 2 times if you include the chain attack. So her buff can only be applied if this thing is lighted up. Now, you can do this if it's not up, but it is heavily recommended against it because it is a substantially weak ass buff, right? So only when you get this 3 stacks, and you can see the animation is a little bit slow as well, then you can press and hold E, that's when you can swap out. So the rotation will feel a lot, I wouldn't say like completely clunky, but you definitely need to get used to this rotation to be, you know, comfortable with her, right? To be comfortable with her. Also, this entire time when she's doing this, she is not invincible, right? She takes reduced damage and anti-interrupt, but she is not invincible. Whereas for Lucy, if you were to press this, she is completely invincible during this animation. Same for a lot of our other units as well. Yeah, so Sokaku herself, she is gonna be, or at least in my personal experience when Sokaku first came out, especially when I was using her with Ellen Sokaku at the start of the game, I noticed that especially for endgame content, my Sokaku was always getting hit. When I was transferring the buffs or trying to stack on the buff, she was always the one getting hit because she's constantly staying on field for such a long period of time. And this has been an experience that I have been getting ever since version 1, right? So these are going to be your 3 supports. I would say all 3 of them are pretty decent to race. It's up to you, who do you like. If you're comfortable with Sokaku's rotations, feel free to raise her. There's nothing wrong with her, absolutely. But, you know, everything else, Lucy and Nicole, they are both very safe picks, right? So that is going to be that for our A rank supports. The other 2 notable A rank agents, Seth and NB. Between these 2, I would say that their priority is not going to be as high. Because for Seth, he is essentially our quote-unquote anomaly buffer, right? His class is going to be considered as a defense class, but he is more like a support, right? He's basically there for you to amplify your anomaly unit's damage through the shield he's getting, right? He's there for you to buff up your anomaly proficiency as well as increasing your anomaly build-up rate, which is how fast you stack on your anomaly. So it is gonna be excellent for units like Bernice, Jane Doe, Yanagi, and all this kind of stuff. But the reason why I would say it is less of a priority is because you don't have those units. The only unit you have that is like quote unquote anomaly is Miyabi, right? You have no Jane Doe, you have no Bernice, you have no Yanagi. You have Piper, right? You do have Piper. So if you want to raise up Piper, I think Sev and Piper can be a pretty decent team going forward. But if you are not running an anomaly DPS, then his value is gonna be a lot lower. And the reason why I say he's like not that much of a priority is because you're basically given Harumasa, which is not an anomaly DPS, so you wouldn't be running Sev with him. And you also have Miyabi. Yo, they're right. You can run Sev with Miyabi. You can. It's not that bad since you can trigger Frost Fire faster. But I wouldn't say it's the best combination. Alright, I want to talk about trying to reduce our resource expenditure as much as possible. Just going for the path of least resistance. Like for example, I would rather just give Miyabi Lucy and Nicole. And you run it with Miyabi. Done. Wrap it up, right? Instead of running Sev. So that's for me personally, especially for players who have Miyabi as well as Harumasa. MB, honestly, if you are running her, or rather if you are running Harumasa and you didn't get Koleda or Lycon, then NB is basically your only choice. You really don't have any other choice when it comes to stunner, because she's basically the only other stunner that you can run with Harumasa. And honestly, her synergy with Harumasa is honestly quite good because they're both electric, so you can actually proc the, proc a little bit of normally, a little bit faster. She doesn't deal that much damage. She doesn't have any stun damage multiplier. She doesn't burst exceptionally fast as well, but she's basically your next best bet if you started the game and you didn't have access to Koleda or Lycon, right? So NB, pretty decent. Will you bench her in the future? I mean, me personally, I have not used her for like 10,000 years, so I'll leave it up to you guys. As of this moment right now, my account, and this is from someone that has been playing since 1.0, Lucy and Nicole, these two are the only A rank agents that I'm still using on a daily basis. Every other A rank, I more or less don't touch them anymore, so you can take that as your consideration. But that is not to say that they're trash, right? I've seen crazy, there's like a Billy mains, there are Billy mains, there are Corinne mains, there are like Piper mains. They're definitely not the worst. They're all viable, but just for me personally, I've used these very frequently, right? So for a beginner, I do believe that these two will be their highest priority if you do want to see any notable A rank agents, right? Cool, done. Okay, so going into your story mode, which is going to be right here, right? This is your story mode. And like I mentioned at the start of the video just now, everything here, no stamina. Back in my days in 1.0, you basically played this with the TV, right? The little grid system that you go around. And apparently it has been removed. So you don't even need to play TV anymore. You can just jump straight into combat, choose your team of 3, bada boom, bada bang, get it done, right? And after you finish the easy mode, you can then play the hard mode, which is going to be another round of rewards. There's a bit of timer, it doesn't really matter. Very standard story stuff. Just play as you go through. I highly recommend you guys to not skip the story because it is very digestible. Excellent animation, excellent cutscenes, excellent music. Not sponsored, by the way. I highly recommend you not skipping the story. If there's one game in the Hoyoverse game that you should not skip story, it is going to be Zenless Zone Zero. I highly recommend you guys to play it. Very nice, very enjoyable. A lot of dick, guys. A lot of, like, oh my god. So, insane, right? So, highly recommended to play the story. Another mode besides this HDD, they are technically not stories. They are like your quote-unquote companion quests. Alright, so all these agents, they have their very own companion quests, right? So your Lycon companion quest, Koleda, Lycon, Rina, Qingyi, Barnies, Lighter. So all these are companion quests, which are basically gives you a little bit more of an insight into your, the agent's backstories, right? So it gives you a little bit of a cutscene, so you can play the cutscene anytime. And it's very short. Usually you finish up your companion quest. How long will you say? Okay, chat. I think it goes around like 1 hour, 1.5, and you'll finish everything. Maybe even less than that. They're very short, very digestible, and it will make you see another side to the characters that you will probably not see in the main story. So for example, I have not yet played this. A lot of my chat asked me to play this because apparently it's very sad. But I have not played this about Harumasa's backstory. Maybe one day I'll try it, but yeah, you get to see these characters which are not gonna be featured on the main story because the main story, they're saving up for the main character, right? So it is what it is. So those are your quote-unquote side quests or like your companion mission, right? So these are your story. No stamina, use them, play them anytime you want. The other mode, which is gonna be probably the most common place that you will be in for the rest of your beginner lives, the HIA Club. So in the early game, I would say before level 40-ish to even 50, 90% of your stamina will only be spent in the HIA Club, right? So this Bertha, right? There are two different people. There's Bertha and there's Lila. So Bertha is the one that are your common materials, right? Your common traces, which are gonna be your levels, your Denny's, your agent promotion, your W engine promotion, your skills. All these are gonna be coming from Bertha. So in Zenless Zone Zero, the system is very simple. You just choose whichever you want. So if you want Denny's, if you want this, and then you choose the number of mobs. So for example, I can in fact instantly spend 100 battery to clear 5 mobs to basically get 5 time drops in a single time. If you want to reduce this, you can basically just remove them. If you have only 40 stamina, boom, done. So you will get the corresponding drops based on how many you want, right? Most of the time, I'll just go 5 and just dump all my stamina in like 10 seconds. Bang. And also, yes, if you do have Miyabi, you can clear these stages extremely quickly. So just another quality of life. It's the same for your basic materials, for your level ups, your ascensions, your W, everything is the same. You can also do this little custom thing. I've never used this myself before because you basically can just select any deck you want. So for example, you want one Denny, one assault unit, one support, one ether, and one fire, right? So if you want to do this, feel free. But most people don't really do this. You just go ahead and farm your stuff and it's done, right? So that is gonna be for Bertha. For Lilia, these are gonna be essentially your core traces. Alright, these will be the materials that you will be using for your core traces. So the core traces are your A, B, C, D, E, F, right? So 6 different core traces. These are one of the materials, and you'll be using a lot of these from A to F. The other material, you'll be finding them in the outpost, but you will definitely be spending a lot of time here, especially if you want to level up your early core, right? So all these exactly the same. For this is gonna be 40 stamina and you can't stack them. The previous one for Bertha, you can stack them. For this one, it's gonna be 40 stamina, 1 clear, bang, and you can see quality of life, dev, listen, the related agents for the upgrade material. So if you have no idea who the upgrade materials are for, we have a dev listen moment. You can see exactly who needs these respective materials, right? Different level of challenges. So these are gonna be based on your internal level. I believe that sometimes you unlock the next level even before reaching the next level. So for example, I think for your drive discs, you actually unlock level 60 at level 55. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's not corresponding, right? So feel free to correct me, but essentially the higher you go, the more returns you get, right? So for this level 55, at the start, it's going to be only this, right? So level up, get more bang for buck, and this is going to be majority of all your stamina because tracers and skills, as per any gacha game, they are gonna be the easiest, most direct way of improving your unit's power level, right? Speaking of upgrades, how should you upgrade in Zenless Zone Zero? Unlike maybe I play a lot of Honkai Star Rail, you don't really max out your character's traits, especially the final level of this trace, right? So for example, this ability, you can bring it to level 12, but it needs this very specific material called the Hamster Cage Pass. This material is diabolically rare. I've been playing this game for 5 months. I believe up until I upgraded a lot, I have only gotten 12, 13 after 5 months. I think somewhere along that ballpark, right? So it's an extremely rare material. Way more rare than Honkai Star Rail's the little Trailblazer ball. Way more rare than that, right? Because it's super little. So do not use this like you have an infinite amount, right? Highly recommended to only use them for your main DPS and units that stands to gain the most. Generally speaking, for beginners, it would be your main DPS. And for most beginners, it would be for your Miyabi. Your basic attack and your ultimate, these two are the most important ones because this is where a lot of where her damage is coming from. Extremely high multipliers, 4.2k multiplier at maximum stacks, so absolutely diabolical. So every single increase in level is a much better return on your investment. For the EX skill, it's not that much, but I kind of raised that because, you know, I love her. And the ultimate also does a lot of multiplier. Every other unit, most of them, you wouldn't need them to be at level 12. Level 12 is really for the super, you really like them a lot, and you like super enjoy using them, then give them to level 12. But other than that, conserve them conserve them, right? So that is basically it. Save them for your DPS, use them sparingly. Core skills, on the other hand, you should try to max them out as much as possible. So a lot of your units, for example, like your Nicole, right? Her entire kit is tied to a core skill. But sometimes the core skill, it might not be that big of an increase. So for example, for E to F, it's only a 2% increase. But from a to B, it's a 5% increase, right? So eventually you do want to get them maxed out, but just know that at the start, you don't have to rush this. But this core skill for 99.999, okay, you know what? 100% of the time, core skill should be your #1 priority for basically every single agent. And for DPS, invest them a little bit more in your other talents. But for every single unit, this core skill, it is non-negotiable. So how do we increase our core skill? It's gonna be with these two materials: the Notorious Hunt material and the Layla material. So this is the one that you just saw, 40 energy you get from Outpost. Not the Outpost, the HIA Club. This is the other one where you will need to farm to get your core skills upgraded. You can think of this as Honkai Star Rail's Echoes of War, right? But unlike Honkai Star Rail or even Genshin Impact, you have no limit on this. So previously, when I first played the game back in my days, you could only farm this 3 times a week. Once you farm this 3 times a week, it's done. And there was a huge problem with this, because even at level 65, you only got a single drop. 0 change from level 30 to level 65. It changes nothing. So there was a huge problem of this material being extremely rare, especially if you want to level up your agents from A to F. Then devs listened, and now they basically allow us to farm this infinitely, albeit you have to spend your stamina. I still personally feel it is quite a bit, because you're spending essentially 60 stamina for a single one. To max out a unit from A to F, I believe you need 9 of this. 2, 3, and 4 for D, E, F respectively. So you still need to farm 9 times 60, which is what? 540 stamina, which is basically 2 days, more than 2 days worth of stamina, just to max out if you're going to be using beyond the weekly match. So honestly, this is, I feel like devs can listen more, maybe give us an improved job. But for now, it helped us a little bit. So definitely another important resource that you will want to be farming. And especially for new players, don't be afraid to spend your stamina here. Because like I showed you guys just now, there is essentially no change between level 30 to level 65. So you should be farming this quite a bit before you get your levels up, because of all of the other stages, like your basic materials, your talents, your ascensions, even your drive discs. The more you level at the respective internal levels, the better drops you get. Whereas for this one, nobody really cares about this. The main material is unchanged, right? So it will be quite recommended to spend quite a bit of stamina for new players on these core stuff, right? So that is gonna be that for the Notorious Hunt. Drive disc. The drive disc. This is the this is the last place which you will be spending your stamina. Does level affect yellow disc drop? Yes, it does. Yes, it does, right? This is your routine cleanup a la carte, aka your gear farming, your artifact farming, your relic farming. For the rest of your entire lives in Zenless Zone Zero, you'll be basically dumping all your stamina into this domain. It is your drive disc, it's the endgame, classic Hoyoverse leveling technology. You do in fact get better drops from 30, 40, 50, and 60, right? I think you unlock level 60 at level 55. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. When do we unlock level 60 again? Level 50? Oh shit, huge. Okay, so you unlock drive disc level 60 at level 50. So it would only be recommended to spend all your stamina here after you reach level 50 to unlock the highest efficiency. Do not dump every single stamina you have into this domain, because it is not efficient. But that being said, if you want to farm like a early set, it's fine. You can spend a couple of energy here to get a early set just to get your main DPS going. You don't really have to care about the support that much, but whichever domain you farm, it should be corresponding to the main DPS that you are using, right? The main DPS, the first main DPS that you raise, it will determine the rest of your flow in your progression in Zenless Zone Zero. So for example, if you're gonna be raising up Miyabi, you will farm the Monster Duet domain. If you're gonna be farming up Harumasa, I really don't like players to farm this. because the byproduct is fucking defense. Nobody's playing Big Ben. Nobody's playing Big Ben, right? So, absolutely not. Man, Harumasa. I feel that if you're playing Harumasa, you can consider this, right? You think you can consider this because you do need the impact for your Dazer, and this is also going to be a pretty decent byproduct for your electric DPS, which is Harumasa, right? So it kind of depends. It's either going to be Hunter and Hound or Monster Duet. Me personally, I'm gonna be assuming that you pull for Miyabi. If you haven't pulled for Miyabi, please check out my videos after you pull Miyabi on why you should pull Miyabi. The Miyabi's early access review, the Miyabi CN guide, Miyabi 1 versus $1. I think I made like 10 different videos on Miyabi right now. It's absolutely diabolically buzzing. But I'm all ears, right? So I will assume that you did get Miyabi. This domain is unironically one of the most efficient domain right now because the byproduct, it is the universal support set Astral Voice. Every single support we have in the game can essentially make use of this. This is a direct upgrade to the 4-piece energy, right? The 4-piece energy, this was our back in my days, it only increased our damage by 15% for 12 seconds. Astral Voice, even at 2 stacks, it's already going to be 16%. And at 3 stacks, it's going to be 24%. So this is a direct power creep of your 4-piece energy. So back in my days, you know, when we were farming energy, completely irrelevant, whatever, everybody will be running Astral Voice now. And a very good part is, because this is a 2-piece attack, you can actually give this to a lot of your DPS as well. So right now, my Miyabi is actually running a 2-piece Astral Voice because I've been dumping all my stamina here. So getting a 4-piece branch and 2-piece Astra, it is very good. You effectively make use of every single job you're getting. Not a single one is going to waste. You either give it to your DPS or you give it to support, right? So very, very good and universal, resource-efficient domain. But like I mentioned, don't go all in for this because at level 50, you get gold. At level 40, I believe the drop for gold is very, very low. I think you only get like 1 gold here if I'm not wrong. I think 50, you get like 2 gold. Chance of 2 gold. Then 60 is guaranteed 2 with a chance of 3 gold, right? I think at 30, yeah, at 30 don't even get any gold at all. So completely irrelevant to farm this early game. So 40 onwards you can consider, but the drop rates are very, very low. So it would still be recommended to wait until you're level 50 to farm this level 60 stage and just get it back for about, right? So that is gonna be that. I would say that spending a little bit of stamina for this is fine, but we have another excellent alternative to the domains, which is this right here, the music store. Back in my days, the beginner tuning, intermediate tuning, and advanced tuning, they were completely unrelated. So whatever shit you got over here, which is basically guaranteed to be A rank drive discs, you just spend them all. Now, in version 1.4, you can in fact merge your purples into your gold. And you will get a hella purple of this, right? So back in my days, this was literally not possible. But now you actually can have a huge, huge influx of gold by doing this. And there it is. Hail Dawe. Hail Dawe, right? So an extremely, extremely, extremely big quality of life improvement for your players that are starting in version 1.4, right? No money, I don't give a shit. Okay, I'm pretty poor right now, but I don't give a shit, right? So you get a lot of this. What this essentially does is basically your relic crafting system. You can spend 3 drive discs, 3 of this gold to get 1, or 30 for 10. You can choose a slot which will double the cost, but you're guaranteed to be slot 6. You can choose any set you want for no additional cost, so you're guaranteed that set. Or you can choose a tuning calibrator, which is basically your main stat selector. So for example, if you want a branch and blade eyes damage percentage, you will spend 1 and 6 of this, right? So it's either 3 cost or 6 cost. Generally speaking, at the start, I would recommend you guys to just go for random. It doesn't really matter what slot you get, especially your 2-piece crit rate. I would personally believe that this 2-piece crit rate, Woodpecker Electro, it will be the most universal 2-piece for pretty much any beginner DPS, right? For your Miyabi, for your Harumasa, all crit DPS, they'll be running this 2-piece. Sometimes you might even run the 4-piece. And it is very good to, spend this token here, Because the byproduct of farming this crit rate is the 2-piece defense, which basically no one uses except for Big Ben, maybe Caesar King, but Caesar King also uses a brand new 4-piece now. So you'll probably never farm this with your stamina, which is why most of your this thingy, for a DPS, this will be a pretty efficient way to farm. Aside from this, I think you can kind of consider a couple of pen ratio, right? If you have Rina, you can run a 2-piece pen ratio. Impact could be, if you don't want to raise Harumasa, you could want a couple of impact here and there. Chaos Jets is for your anomaly, but I believe you have no access to anomaly for a new player. You have no Burnies and no Yanagi, so not that significant. Piper, you can just go ahead and run Freedom Blues, so it's not that bad. Freedom Blues, honestly, is also a pretty decent set because your Lucy, your Nicole, your Rina, all these, they can all run Freedom Blues to make the anomaly proficiency go up a lot faster, right? So, any of these are fine. For main DPS, I would say that best bang about 2-piece Electro, but it would be depending on what you need, right? So that is going to be that for the drive this segment. Yippee! End game content in Zenless Zone Zero. So in Zenless Zone Zero, there are 2 different end game content. The refreshable end game content and the non-refreshable end game content. For the non-refreshable end content, is basically a one-time clear. It's gonna be this right here, your Holo Zero, which is gonna be like your simulated universe. I don't know what is the equivalent in Genshin Impact, or your elusive realm in Wuthering Waves, right? Holo Zero, it is essentially a one-time clear. The moment you're done, you're done. But it is a very fun, very rewarding experience. You get a lot of different buffs and you can kind of see like your agents dealing like ridiculous 5 billion damage per base or something, right? So it is quite interesting. But the moment you clear all of the rewards, you basically would never come into this ever again. So it is quote-unquote an end-game content because you wouldn't really try this early on because it does take quite a bit, especially if you want to, you know, get like super good scores, right? Yeah, so it is what it is, right? So this is going to be one of the endgame content. This is the Lost Void, which is the latest one that they just released. So play them at your own time. There's no time limit, no refreshable rewards. Whenever you're ready, feel free to come back and play them as you see fit, right? Holo Zero is a refreshable weekly content for 160 polychromes. Play your Holo Zero. The other non-refreshable is going to be Shield Defense right here. The 2 blue ones. These are your one-time endgame reward clears. So the moment you clear them, it's done. For the blue notes, you can see that from note 6 onwards, so this is your last one, right? Note 6 onwards, you will need 2 teams. So from 1 to 6, the moment you raise up your Miyabi, I think you can just clear this with like no problem whatsoever, right? But from 7 onwards, you would need a second team. That being said, there's no rush, so you don't have to rush this at all. Same thing for your disputed node. No rush, but for disputed node, the difference is instead of depending on how fast you clear them, it depends on how many people die. So it is a lot more focused on your survival instead of a time limit, which I think is pretty interesting because for almost every single other endgame in Hoyoverse, it is always about damage. For Honkai Star Rail, for Genshin Impact, it is about dealing as much damage as humanly possible. For Disputed Node, it's one way where they don't really care about your damage. It's only about how well can you like dodge and like maintain your survival. And units like Caesar King really shine this kind of modes, right? So quite interesting. Maybe we'll get more of this in the future, but who knows? So that is your non-refreshable endgame in the Outpost. There's one more non-refreshable endgame, and personally one of my favorite modes of all time, the Battle Tower. I'm currently doing this series where we run a solo Miyabi through Battle Floor 100, right? That's just another series if you want to check out. But essentially your Battle Tower, it is gonna be a quote-unquote, quite literally an endless tower mode. So you go from floor 1 all the way to infinite. Apparently, you can go even beyond floor 99, which is kind of crazy, right? The way this mode works is you run your team, but if your team dies, they're out. So you can't use them anymore. So it is a very, very interesting mode. And because Zenless Zone Zero does not have a sustain, it will really rely on you playing this like damn near perfectly, or run a healer like your Avakabu. Unless we get future healers in the future, right? So, very decent mode. It goes up to floor 25 for the max rewards. Floor 25 will give you the max rewards that you want to clear for a better tower. If you want to be a crazy fella, floor 30 gives you this Endless Ascension Smooth Path token. So just like a little cosmetic, like a little skin for your profile picture if you want to go to floor 30, but this is going to be completely optional. From 25 onwards, if you die at any point here, at any point. If you die, you go all the way back to 25. So, I think it's very fun. Up to you if you want to try it, but definitely another endgame content that you can kind of play in your own time, right? So that is gonna be that for the non-refreshable endgame. I don't think I missed out anything else, right? The refreshable endgame content. There are only 2 as of this current moment. The critical node, which is gonna be this right here, right? If you get a full clear, you will get how many of the thing is it? 720. All right, 720. Yippee! So you get a 720, and this will be refreshing once based on this timer. Usually it's per half a patch, if I believe. All right, if just look at this and read through, it will refresh. So these are your only time limited polychromes. So if you can't clear them, you would be quote unquote losing out. But always remember why you want to spend polychromes. Because if you are building a team to speedrun refreshable content, you must remind yourself at what cost. So let's just say you wanted to full clear S rank all 7 stages in like 1 week. Because you want to get 720 polychromes. In order to do that, you would probably need to build, first of all, 2 teams. You'll probably need to spend double the stamina needed to build 2 different DPS. Maybe your support can leave them at level 1 or level 20. Just make sure they don't die. Maybe you want to pull for additional mindscapes to make them stronger. And I guarantee you this will be a lot more expensive than just 720 polychromes. In fact, even if you just 1 or 2 stages, you're already getting... This is 90 for the first frontier and 90 for... You're already getting 180 for the first 2 frontiers, which are like... very, very easy since they're only level 50, right? So do not forget about the bigger picture. And I would heavily advise against players to just go all in for the sake of clearing all 4 stars, right? Or rather, all 7 stages, right? So that's for your shield defense, just like your Spiral Bliss. And then this is going to be the latest endgame mode. Deadly Assault. Holy shit, this mode is fun. Unfortunately, I do think that you would be having extreme difficulties for a new player. Because it is essentially a team check. If you do not have the 9 units that you would need, you are probably not getting 20,000 points, right? The points is going to be these. You get respective points when you deal damage, some performance bonus, 6,000, 1,400, and 2,000, right? 20,000, sorry. So if you do not have the relevant team, so for example, you just started playing the game, you have Harumasa and Miyabi. You don't really have another team for your 3rd DPS. Maybe you run like, I don't know, Piper or like Billy, right? You could, but it will definitely be a lot more challenging for a new player compared to someone that has more units. So I would say that even though this is 3-team content, not getting the full clear, it's fine because you still get the respective rewards. So let's just say you can only clear 2 different stages. That would still technically be 6 stars, and you would have only missed out these tokens, which is basically nothing. Alright, you would have gotten every single one of the polychrome rewards, and if you do get the max 9 stars, you are rewarded with a little bit of credit and this thing that you can exchange for some bumble pools and all that kind of stuff. So it is not the end of the world if you don't have 3 teams. Even if you don't even get 6 stars, it is not the end of the road. So usually what happens, I think nowadays, people just go all in for this half with Miyabi, secure 3 stars. This side with Miyabi should be able to quite easily secure 20,000 points. For this half, I'll admit it's going to be definitely more challenging than Miyabi. Right? So if you're not able to get a full 3 stars here, just know that you are really not missing out by that much. So that is the other endgame content, and this will be refreshing in 16 days, which is roughly 3 weeks, right? So these are all of the Zenless Zone Zero endgame modes, refreshable, non-refreshable, everything. Last portion of the entire guide, which is going to be this right here, the whale guide. Thank you for watching for the past 1 hour and 14 minutes. If you have enjoyed this beginner's guide, feel free to subscribe. I love you, you love me. Maybe leave a comment, like this video, share with your mom, share with your dad. Very good. This is going to be our last segment, the shop guide. So what should you be buying, right? What should you be buying? This technically also pretty applicable to the free-to-play as well. So you will be getting these residual signals whenever you pull a unit, right? Especially if you put A rank, duplicates, or whatever kind of stuff, you'll be getting this. You can either exchange them 600 for a single W engine, signature W engine. You can exchange it for A rank mindscapes, or you can exchange them for limited pools. First of all, never, ever, 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 ever exchange it for this. Ever. Do not do this. So you're also not recommended to pool for any of the A rank mindscapes. Most of them, they are not impactful. You're fine, because this is it's just not worth it generally, usually. I would say 80% or 85% or maybe even 90% of player base, the only thing you should be spending with this is going to be more pools, right? More pools equals to more pools equals to more Aboba, more waifu. So almost every single player should be spending it on your encrypted master tape. The only exception, I would say, if y'all want, is a Weeping Cradle, especially for Rina and Joyous. This is a diabolically good W engine, best in slot by any other margins compared to our support W engines. So really, really decent W engine. My counterpoint in this is we are getting Astra Yao, which is a support S rank. And if you pull for a W engine, I don't know what it's going to do, but there might be a chance that it might be even better than this, right? So this will be the only other W engine I think you guys might want to consider. Everything else, they are frankly speaking not worth it. Not Grace, not Nico Mata, not Koleda, not Lycon, not anything, right? Grace, maybe, but if you are a Battle Pass holder, Lip Gloss is an excellent, excellent alternative. Which brings me to my next shop, the Battle Pass. For the Battle Pass, if you were to claim, especially if you were to spend money and buy the whatever this is, Lip Gloss will be the best in slot. For pretty much all of our anomaly DPS, Lip Gloss is gonna be one of the best alternatives to a S rank W engine, right? For your Piper, Bernice, Jane Doe, Yanagi, everybody can essentially run Lip Gloss, right? So Lip Gloss, Lip Gloss, Lip Gloss, Lip Gloss. Is this worth your money? Me personally, I would say yes. It is a ridiculous amount of resources, and usually it is like triple of the original resource you would get from the free-to-play version. I wouldn't say you need it, but it makes your building experience, especially in the early game, a lot faster, right? So that is completely up to you, because if you don't really buy this, you're not really missing out that much on in terms of pools or anything, right? So a lot of these are basically just resources to make your life a little bit easier. This will probably be the biggest one you're missing out on, which is really just not that much to begin with. I think it's worth it. If you don't want it, it is also completely fine. Aside from the Battle Pass, this shop right here, I mean, it says 500% value, guys. You're losing money by not buying this, right? You're quite literally losing money. You're losing out 500%, 400% if you do not spend that money. You spend 100% value, you're losing money by not buying this. I didn't even see this back when the game launched. So this was a brand new pack that they just released. I think it's my first time seeing this for a while. Diabolical, insane value. So I'll be up to you. Aside from this, Internet membership is basically a monthly pass. Pretty much the best bang for your buck in terms of your monochromes or polychromes. So that's going to be that. All these bundle shops. Okay, first of all, I didn't buy this, right? My Oilers, they bought it for me, so I didn't buy this, right? Most of them, I would say you don't really need it. They're basically for more pools. Generally speaking, you kind of just leave this alone. Signal shop I just mentioned. These two are the most important ones, all right? Your encrypted master tape and your master tape. Everything else, it depends on what you need, right? So if you're someone that has a lot of this, you can consider getting a little bit of this just to make your farming life a little bit easier, but that will be up to you. Bambuk, the only thing I recommend getting, aside from your monthly pools, from your bong pool, as well as this thingy, is this Marcel modified part. This is essentially a duplicate of an S rank. So it is a guaranteed duplicate. But I would say that even bong pools without any duplicates, they are completely fine. And this does cost you 1,200 of this, which is insane amount, right? So the most important one will definitely be bamboo. Aside from this, not that important. And then finally, this one is just your normal cost. That's why you never ever exchange anything for master tape. I cannot stress this enough. Right? Do not do this. I swear. Do not. I've seen crazy amount. People just do this and then they press confirm. Bro, do not do this. Do not do this. Okay, please do not do this. Holy shit. Right? Okay, done. Very good. And these are basically your normal top-up bonus. Blah 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 blah. This is the most bang for buck. And yeah, nothing much to be said here. And I do believe, with that, 1 hour and 20 minutes later, we have come to the end of our beginner guide. I have prepared so long for this goddamn guide. It's kind of crazy, right? Thank you. Hail Pokey, right? So I definitely didn't go through every single mechanic because I did notice that it is already 1 hour and 20 minutes. So if you want to see some additional stuff, like for example, the combat mechanics, emergency note. Okay, real quick, just a real quick note. You can now have a decibel system shared with all. Last time, back in my days, everybody shared 1 decibel. Now, this is the biggest change ever. Everybody have their own decibel bar, so everybody can use ultimate. So pretty much almost 99% of the time, you will want to level up your ultimates, right? So back then, not important. Now, level your ultimates, early progression, all that kind of stuff. Just check out my old guide. I made a beginner guide super long ago. It's the exact same stuff. Not that much has changed at all. Basically the same thing. So check out the old Zenless Zone Zero guide. Exactly the same, but this will be everything that I believe has been updated to the current version 1.4 version, right? So that's gonna be that. Thank you guys for so much for watching this content for Zenless Zone Zero version 1.4 beginner guide. Word of the day, if you have watched to the end of this 1 hour and 20-minute video, is going to be Sniffer Boo. Join Twitch, join YouTube, join TikTok, join Discord, join Twitter. All the best for your gacha pools. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and happy New Year. Adios, fuckero. Peace.